I'm gonna hit go on the recording. So um, let me pull up. Let's see. Give me just a second. Well, all right. I got lost on my page. There it is. So that is queued up. So everybody, thank you for showing up on time and coming to this lovely talk. I'm assuming that some other people will be filling in, as the talk starts, and I'll try and keep them muted. Hopefully nothing embarrassing happens like I've seen on some Zooms where people are like peeing or something, oh, are we recording? All right. So anyway, if first thing I wanted to say is welcome to Alisha. She is somebody that I just recently got to meet in the North Carolina Appalachian NAMA event. Let's see, I brought my shirt to represent where I met her. Alisha is somebody who was kind of thrown into one of my forays that I was leading as somebody who needs to go on this foray. And I'm like, okay, all right, sure. Yeah, just you can help out. And like, why don't you help, line the vehicles up for the carpool? And she just went into like organizer mode and told people where to go and was just like making everything happen. I was like, wow, she's a really good organizer. And then over the course of the next, I guess, hour, walking in the woods and hearing other people talk about her, I learned that she's not just a good organizer, but she is deeply involved with, documenting fungi, identifying fungi, deeply involved with NAMA. As people are still rolling in, I'm just going to read the little blurb that we wrote about Alisha. So Alisha is a native of Northeast Ohio. Alisha developed a passion for wild edibles and the outdoors, eventually earning a Master Gardener certification in 2017. Now living in Alabama, which actually now living in Tennessee, that's changed recently. She actively leads the Alabama Mushroom Society as club president, serves on the executive board of the North American Mycological Association, and recently became the Assistant Curator of Fungi for the University of West Alabama Herbarium. Dedicated advocate for promoting fungal education and stewardship, Alisha enjoys exploring nature with her husband and 2 children when she's not immersed in mushroom hunting or gardening pursuits. So we are super honored to have Alisha give us this talk. Before I let her loose, I just want to say if anybody has any questions, please, please, please just drop them in the chat and I will try my best to get to them at the end. And if you hear me reading the questions and I'm forgetting about them, just either unmute your mic and yell at me or message me in the chat and I'll do my best to get to you. Another thing, as a club, this project is really passionate for me because in a way, this project, or at least FUNDIS, the kind of umbrella over this project, is one of the reasons why I started the club back in 2018. I went and saw a whole bunch of people doing really cool things at Telluride with the, what was it called? The Mycoflora Project. And I wanted to come back and be a part of a club that was doing that. And there was none that was doing that in our area. So I started one and we never really got off the ground with that. And as some of you know, the Mycoflora Project sort of stepped back and restarted with a different name, which is FUNDIS, the Fungal Diversity Survey. Did I get that right? Fungal Diversity Survey. So we are going to try and up our game this year and learn about these rare fungi from Alisha. Yeah, I think that's it. If anybody got here, I guess you know who the club is, so I don't need to do that. John, did I forget anything?
No, that was good.
Okay, all right. I'm getting better at these intros without, tailing off. So without further ado, Alisha, if you want to share your screen and if everybody can shut up and listen. Thank you.
And if you have not muted yourself, if you wouldn't mind, please muting yourself. And if you have any questions, like Pat said, just drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. All right. Everybody see my screen okay? All right. So like Pat said, today I'm going to be talking to you about the Southeast Rare Fungi Challenge. Pat did a fantastic introduction for me. I do have to tell my husband that you say I drag him into the woods because that is not a thing that he does. But I drag my kids into the woods all the time. They are going to be little myco enthusiasts. All right. So the Fungal Diversity Survey, or FUNDIS for short, is the only nonprofit focusing on North American fungal diversity and conservation. Their mission is to protect biodiversity through conservation of fungi and their habitats by increasing knowledge and public awareness of their diversity and distribution, equipping and engaging community scientists, and partnering with land managers, conservationists, and scientists. So why does it matter? Fungi play a vital role in the environment. They break down debris, they provide a network of nutrient exchange in our forests. They are a food source for many animals, and certain insects' survival depend on them. In fact, 90% of land plants form mycorrhizal relationships with fungi. Some plants can't survive at all without these associations, and most decline significantly without them. We're losing fungi faster than we can document their existence, mostly due to habitat loss. The Global Red List, which lists threatened and endangered species, has only assessed about 0.02% of total fungal species due to lack of data. For comparison, 4.03% of total vascular plants have not only been assessed, they've been deemed that they need to be protected. Knowing which mushrooms are where and when is vitally important to being able to study and protect them, because we can't protect what we don't know is there. So the Rare Fungi Challenge was an initiative started in 2020 to document rare, underdocumented, or potentially threatened species of fungi in North America. The first challenge launched was the West Coast Challenge, and it was very successful. The results after the first year included major range extensions of 2 of the target fungi, documentation of 7 of the 10 initially targeted fungi, and resulted in 20 vouchered collections that are now available for further study. The Southeast Challenge is the third project launch. The Northeast Challenge is the second one, which is still ongoing. So if anyone here happens to be a little further north, definitely look into your project. Our target area extends a little bit beyond what most people generally refer to as the Southeast due to shared ecology to our region. The states included in the challenge are Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Virginia, and the Carolinas. The Southeast Challenge includes 20 species that were chosen by a team of mycologists and experts for being rare, underdocumented, or potentially threatened. They were carefully chosen to cover a wide range of morphologies, habitats, seasonalities, and are all fairly easy to ID in the field. Our target species all occur within the Southeast, some widely, and some are only known from a very specific locale. For each species, I've provided an example photo and a list of the season, the habitat, and identification features. All of these features should be considered when trying to ID these in the field, but when one feature holds more weight than the others, I've highlighted that key feature in yellow. So let's jump into our target species here. The first species in our challenge is Winia sprassoides, the stalked cauliflower fungus. This mushroom fruits from early spring to late fall. It grows in soil and is often hidden under leaf litter. It fruits from a dense mass of mycelium called a sclerotium. If you find this one, please cut it at soil level and leave the underground sclerotium intact so that it will hopefully fruit again. This is one of the few fungi that shouldn't be dug completely up on our list. These are documented in the northern range of our target area in Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina, but I recently received a collection from southern Mississippi. So this is the most southern that we've documented it. And again, we just need more data. And you can see my list of features here: late spring, early fall, from soil. This morphology that it has, these kind of cup, roughly, nothing else really looks very much like this. But if you are a more advanced fungi identifier, it turns magenta or red with application of KOH. So that's a very good indication that that's what you have. Our second fungus is actually a whole genus. It's Glowiomucro, the glue drips. These transparent yellow-green spikes fruit throughout the year whenever conditions are favorable. Being of a jelly consistency, they favor wet and humid environments. They fruit on decaying logs that no longer have their bark. They have been documented across a wide range of our target area, from Maryland all the way down to Florida and west to Mississippi. If you do find these, remove them from the wood best as you can and place them in a pile on a piece of plastic bag or a Tupperware lid before you put them in your dehydrator, because they dry to almost nothing. It's just a tiny little flake after you get them dry. Their most close look-alike is these opaque white jelly spines that are the mucronella. You can see this picture here in the middle of the ones that I found, and I found these fairly regularly. And in West Virginia, I know that Drew said he finds these fairly regularly. They're just so darn little, and they tend to fruit on the underside of these decorticated logs. So if you're not really paying attention and looking for them, they're very easy to miss. But once you get in and you really look at them, they're usually fruiting in abundance. I think I did find one that was kind of just a single occurrence in Louisiana at the Gulf South foray last year. And I know that I've found them on decaying Tsuga, and I know that they've also been documented on hardwoods, and there's a couple of different species. They were originally described from Costa Rica, and we're not exactly sure which species we have here, and I'm not sure that the morphology between species is very evident, but that's one of the things that we are hoping to figure out. Do we have many different species here? Is it all one? Are there morphological variances in the species? And DNA sequencing is going to help answer that for us. This next fungus isn't too much to look at, but it has the best texture. This is Rhytoporia austrasinensis, the bubblegum polypore. It stretches like bubblegum. This is a crust that grows in and on downed and decaying pines without their bark. If you break the soft wood from a decaying pine and you see this white stretchy interior, you found the bubblegum polypore. When fruiting, it forms a crust with irregular pores. You can see that in the upper right, but it doesn't always form this crust. You can find this one year-round. It has been documented across much of our target range, from Maryland down to Florida and all the way west to Texas. Next, we have Wolfina aurantiopsis, the lemon buttercup. This is a summer fruiting fungus that grows from dead twigs and logs of hardwood trees. It's known to occur across our target range from Delaware down to Alabama and west to Texas. These look a lot like the more common Galliella rufa, but they have a more yellow center. But the key giveaway that it's not Galliella rufa is when you cut it in half, it has this opaque, dense white interior, whereas Galliella rufa, when you cut it in half, it's a clear jelly. It's like a gumdrop, real squishy, fun to play with. Color is absent. These ones have a very dense white interior, so cut it in half and you'll know for sure. This is another one that I really kind of suspect is probably ignored and underdocumented. Multifurca ochra compacta, the fork gill. This mushroom doesn't look like much with its cream to buff colored cap until you flip it over and you find these yellow orange gills that fork repeatedly, and they smell like lemon when they're fresh. You can tell this one from similar members of the same family by the repeated forking of the gills, and they do not ooze when cut. Other members of the Russulaceae that are lactarius or lactifluous, you'll cut the gills and it will ooze a latex. These do not. It has been documented from West Virginia down to Georgia and West Texas. So this is the second least documented fungus in our challenge, Russula lilacipes, the purplefoot russula. It's only been documented in 7 locations across the US. And the location that has the most collections is in Washington, D.C., in the Arlington Cemetery, and it is, or adjacent to the Arlington Cemetery, and it has now been paved over. Annie Dubs went to visit the location, and I think there's like 9 collections from this location, and it's paved over. It's gone. So it's pretty unassuming. Seeing it from the top, it looks like many of the other fetid russulas. But if you dig it up and you take a look at that base, it has this lilac purple base. So this one has only been documented in August and September, and only in West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina. So this is a really great one for y'all in your area to be looking out for, especially August and September. Just pull up every fetid russula you think you find and take a look at that base and look for these purple tones. It's got a mild odor and flavor if you just taste it and spit it back out. Otherwise, I think if you're not looking for it, it might be one that you just pass over. This is the first bolete on our list. This is Boletus atkinsonianus, the pastel bolete. This bolete grows from soil in mixed woods under oaks during the summer. It has a red to cinnamon colored slimy cap and white to yellow pores. It often has ridges running up and down the stem, and the stem will bend before breaking, much like asparagus does. It can look similar to Aurora boletus species, but if you lick the cap on an Aurora boletus, they're usually sour, and this is mild to sweet if you lick the cap. It also has a slight pinkish staining inside the cap when you cut it in half from top to bottom. It's been documented in West Virginia, Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia, but they also have it all the way over in Texas, so it likely occurs everywhere in between. Hygrophorus coceri, Coker's wax cap, is a small brown mushroom, only 1.5 to 7.5 centimeters tall. It could be confused with a number of other small brown species at a glance. Look for the depressed center with the gills at a wide angle from the stem, kind of this obtuse angle here. Although that's not always the case, they frequently have that feature. The cap has fibers radiating from the center, and the stem is hollow. They have a white spore print, which alone will help differentiate it from many of the other small brown mushrooms. Lactarius purpureoechinacea is the purple spiny milk cap. This gorgeous mushroom occurs in the summer, growing from soil in mixed woods. It's been documented in Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia. You'll recognize it by the purple fibers on the cap in a radiating pattern around a depressed center. The gills, when cut, ooze white latex that does not stain the gills nor change color as it dries. I believe we have 2 collections of this that we took at NAMA this year in North Carolina, but interestingly enough, the type has not been sequenced, although one of the type collections is at University of Tennessee, and Brandon Matheny is working on that, getting that sequenced for us. But the ones that we found at NAMA, we sequenced them, and if this does match the type, the section of Lactarius that this is in isn't supported by DNA evidence. So it's going to ruffle up our Lactarius people if our collections match the type. Just a fun little Side note for anyone who's nerdy into mushrooms. Phylloporia amplinctans, the pawpaw bracket, is easily ID'd by its occurrence on living pawpaw trees. Most polypores grow on deadwood or up from the ground. These are growing right around and circling the living stems and branches of pawpaws. This is the most common fungus on our challenge list. It occurs in decent numbers in the areas where it grows, but its host tree grows much further north than this polypore is recorded. So we have this one on our list to kind of get a better understanding of the distribution. And in some areas, pawpaws are losing their habitat. And since that is their sole host, it would be an important data to get. This bright yellow wood grower is Pluteus mammillatus, the ringed shield. You'll find these from summer to fall and they've been recorded from Virginia, the Carolinas, Florida, and Mississippi. Although there are several similar yellow mushrooms that grow on wood, this is the only one that has a ring on the stem. So look for it down low on the stem. You're not going to be able to ID this well if someone sends you just cap photos, or if you only take photos of the cap, you're probably going to have to remove it from the wood and get a good photo of that stem, because this ring can be easily missed in photos that aren't the complete collection. And if it has that ring, this is what it is. There's nothing else in this area that's yellow like this with a ring, as far as we know. The frilly rosette, Podocypha aculeata, can be found growing from soil under hardwoods from fall to early winter. It has tough, leathery fronds that are frilly and reminiscent of a rough leaf fabric. They start out white, but they may turn brownish, grayish, or pinkish with age. It's been reported in Tennessee, the Carolinas, Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Hydnellum geogenium, the yellow copse hydnel. Look for this mushroom from July through September, growing in duff under spruce and other conifers. It's a tough mushroom that is bright yellow and develops a dark brown center in maturity. The underside has bright yellow spines and often has multiple stems. It's only been recorded in Tennessee, the Carolinas, and Georgia. I feel like this one would be a pretty hard one to mistake for anything else. I don't know of anything else that has these bright yellow spines out this way. And it would be a pretty cool find to put on your fungi life list. I'm definitely going to be looking out for this one. I want to find this one specifically. I'm going to find all of them. The ogre polypore is the perfect name for this big, ugly mushroom. Polyporoletus sublividus grows from July through October from soil in mixed wood forests. It has a purple olive green cap with pores on the underside that run down the stem. It's tough and corky, and the stem is large and short. At maturity, these are an impressive mushroom that would be very difficult not to marvel over. Take a look at this bottom photo. This is a find by Sydney Grimm in Tennessee. She cannot wrap her hand around the stem of this mushroom. I mean, these are big mushrooms. Now, when they're young, maybe not so much, but these would be hard to miss, I feel like. Mycena carolinensis, the little yellow bonnet. This might be a difficult to ID mushroom if you don't first consider what it's growing on. These grow from sticks of rhododendron, swamp dog laurel, and blueberry, which are all shrubby small trees. The caps are a dull yellow and in the shape of a lampshade. The cap may be slippery when wet, but the stems are not, and the gills do not run down the stem. You can see here that they attach, but they are not decurrent. Monoboletus weberi is known as the decorated bolete. You'll find it growing under pines and oaks from late spring to early fall. The key features are red pores that do not change color when scratched or cut. The stem has dots and streaks of red toward the top of a yellow stem and olive brown dots on the lower half. Look for the cap to have cracks and fissures that show the yellow underneath. Amanita westii, West's Amanita. This mushroom looks a lot like Strobiliomyces, that is Old Man of the Woods, from just the cap, especially when it's young. The large warts that darken with age, a large bulbous base, and gills that start white and turn chocolate brown. There's nothing else that looks quite like this mushroom. You'll find it from summer to fall, growing from soil in mixed woods. It has so far only been recorded from the Gulf Coast states, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama. I had the pleasure of getting to handle one of these that was found at the Gulf South foray last year, and it is a very impressive mushroom. It was a fun find. Hygrocebi andersonii, the sandy waxcap, probably not going to be on y'all's list, anyone in your club. This is an appropriate name for this mushroom because it grows in sand dunes. That's a key feature to tell these red-orange mushrooms from all the very similar looking soil-growing wax caps. They will always be found growing near Florida rosemary, which you can see in the bottom photos. It is only known from Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. Aurora boletus abruptibulbus, the sand bolete, another one that grows in sand dunes. This one prefers older dunes with pine and oak nearby. Its Latin name is an homage to the abruptly bulbous base of the stem. Look for this one in the fall and winter. It's only known from Alabama and Florida. This gorgeous mushroom is Entoloma gainesvilliae, the blue clawed. The species name is due to this mushroom only being known from Gainesville, Florida. This is the rarest mushroom on our list with only 5 observations on record. 2 in June, 2 in July, 1 in October. There's nothing else that looks like this. It's a bright blue cap, pink gills, growing on wood. If you're near Gainesville, or if you're not near Gainesville and you find a blue pleurotoid mushroom like this with pink gills, take lots of photos, collect it. This is a really special find. This would be a magnificent one to get to experience in person. So you found a species on our challenge list. Now what? We're going to post them on iNaturalist. iNaturalist is a social network of naturalists, citizen scientists, and biologists built on the concept of mapping and sharing observations of biodiversity across the globe. Submit photos of what you find, and others will help you identify them. This data is utilized by many organizations that assemble data for conservation, researchers, and mycologists. Uploading your high-quality photos to iNaturalist will contribute to the data we have on what fungi occur where and when. It is free, and it's available as an app on both iPhone and Android and on your desktop. So the next part of my presentation is intended to be interactive. Anyone here who is not familiar with iNaturalist or has not used iNaturalist before, I encourage you to get out your smartphone, and we're going to post an iNaturalist observation together. And those of you that are familiar with iNaturalist there you go, Pat, I see you got it. You may learn a few new tricks as well. So hang in here. I include instructions for iPhone and Android on every slide as we go forward. I'll tell you in a second which side will be which. Please go to your app store now, search and download iNaturalist. It will be a green bird icon you can see on the left side of the screen. You do not want Seek by iNaturalist, which is the white leaf on the green background here on the right. When it downloads, go ahead and set up a free account. And when given the option, allow location permissions for iNaturalist, and you're going to have to allow location permissions for your camera on your cell phone as well. You may have to go into your cell phone settings to do that. So while that is downloading and you're getting your account set up, we're going to talk about the photos that are necessary for making a high quality iNaturalist observation. These 4 photos here are the photos that you should always include for every mushroom, always. You're going to take a photo of the area that the mushroom is growing before you pick it. You're going to show the substrate it is growing on. You want to see the leaves on the ground to show what trees are growing nearby. You're going to take a close-up photo of the cap. You're going to carefully dig the mushroom up, and you're going to take care to get the complete stem and base, if that includes a vulva, if it has a rooting stipe. We want then as much of it as you can excavate as possible. Take a photo of the underside showing the gills or the pores, and take a photo showing the stem. Take your time getting them in focus. Take several if you need to. I never am able to get just the right focus on the first try. You're going to have a chance to pick the best photos later. And you will notice that in all these photos, the mushroom takes up the majority of the photo. I don't want to be having to zoom in and lose quality in my photo. You want your phone pretty much right up there. You'll see us on forays down on our hands and knees, taking photos of these mushrooms right up close and personal. If your mushroom has an important feature noted on one of my slides, we want to document those features too. And as you get more experienced, you're going to recognize different features that you're going to say, oh, I should really document this. Or you might notice what genus it is. You might recognize it and think, oh, this one has latex. I should document that. So some of those things are latex. If it has gills, you can cut them or scratch.
Lost sound.
All right. I'm going to text Alicia and see if maybe she lost some signal or a battery or something. But in the meantime, does anybody have any questions about the iNaturalist setup? Oh, I think she just jumped off. She's probably restarting. I'll still text her. Does anybody have any questions about iNaturalist, or is anybody trying to set it up and having some troubles? Because we have several actual iNaturalist experts on here. I'm definitely not one of them, although I use it. But Adam over here has more than a few iNaturalist observations.
You know, I have just an unrelated question. Do they have like it would help our members if we had laminated pictures of this, of the 20 that we saw like at NAMA, or are the can you get the color sheets and could we laminate some to carry them around with
I
us?
have, she sent me the graphic, so I have the graphic. We can absolutely print these for the club and bring them. I would also like to try and maybe have like a folder or something that we can have some of the other slides that have some brief information.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but Alicia was highlighting some of the what I call tells in yellow on some of
yeah.
these, which I really like. You know, there's general features of mushrooms, but when you get the tells, that kind of, you know, it really makes it clear what sticks out between that and something else.
Yeah,
So
if you send the files to me, I could get them laminated for us like I did the placards.
Hey, John, you got to check your pawpaw trees.
You know, I haven't seen any. I actually looked last when I saw this in the name, and I think mine are too young, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I got a place I'm going. Oh man, that's yeah,
But
it's down by a river. It's a huge pawpaw grove, really.
yeah, mine are cultivars, you know, like the KSU and all those. So I'm
Oh,
thinking
right. Yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
like one thing that would be interesting to be to see, do they grow on cultivars or is it on the, you know, the quote natives? Because then I can go to some of our local hiking areas and look for
Yeah.
them.
Oh, that one really excites me. Only because that's one of those like when you get something specific like that going on a specific tree. Oh, that I just love that kind of stuff.
Definitely, definitely.
Alicia said that her, oh, there she is. I'll let her share. All right.
Sorry about that. I got Starlink and my internet just bounced out for some reason, but I am back. Let me just share my screen again. Here we go. Can you hear me okay?
Sounds great.
Okay,
Thanks, Alisha.
no problem. Sorry about that.
No
Okay,
worries.
so yes, some species, the latex is fiery hot and will rival any hot pepper that you've tried. So taste conservatively, but noting that taste of the latex is an important feature to note. Bruising of the gills of the stipe, especially for our boletes, that color change when scratched is very important for species ID. Many species require a cross section, cutting it in half from top to bottom. And then if you find a mushroom that is growing prolifically, collecting several in different growth stages and kind of taking pictures of what it looks like as it changes can provide important information as well. Y'all got a little extra time to get your iNaturalist downloaded. So collection and drying, you want to dig up the knife, dig up with a knife or a trowel. I use a hori knife. Some mushrooms have very deep rooting stipes. I say very deep roots here. That should be rooting stipes. Mushrooms don't have roots. And I will run my finger along the stipe and kind of feel down low and try and get as much of it as I can. It can also help determine if it's growing from soil or from buried wood. Most every mushroom you want to dig up completely. Make a note that on our list, we don't want you digging up the sclerotium of Winnias brachioides, just because we do expect this to be a rare fungus. Most mushrooms that have sclerotia aren't conservation concerns. It's not as big of a deal. This one specifically, just leave the sclerotium. Gently brush off any dirt or debris. I keep a couple of small paintbrushes, different sizes of small paintbrushes in my pack that I'll brush off. You can collect several if there's a whole bunch of them. Up to 8, I think, is a fair number, depending on what they are, what they're being collected for. After you take all your photos, put each specimen or each area of the same mushroom into a separate bag with a corresponding data sheet or little note, something so you can recognize which ones they are later. I use a tackle box. It works brilliantly. I can take out, it's like one of the ones that you can get at craft stores that you can take out the internal dividers to have different sizes. You're going to dry them in a food dehydrator. I say 110 degrees or less, just because some of these old food dehydrators, you set them for 110 and they're actually running at 140, 150 degrees. 150 degrees and higher starts to affect the DNA. So we want it lower than that. And I say 24 to 48 hours. Some mushrooms take longer. I would rather, you can't over dry these mushrooms. If you leave it in your, I'll stick stuff in my dehydrator and still have stuff on shelves from the week before. And I just keep turning it on when I add stuff to it until I have time to process everything. You can't over dry them, but you can under dry them. Things that show up to me, I get hundreds of specimens. I had 1,000 specimens mailed to me last December. I don't know what my mail lady thinks, but I get mushrooms in the mail all the time. And those that are air dried, even when people are confident that they've been air dried well, almost always mold. If they haven't molded by the time they get to me, I pop them in my dehydrator and try and get them. So we want them as dry as possible. And a food dehydrator is the best way to do that. And before you dehydrate them, especially if you're dehydrating multiple things in your dehydrator, I'm going to tell you how to find your iNaturalist number, make a little note on a piece of paper and put it with your mushrooms in your dehydrator, because mushrooms look different once they're dry. I can't tell you how many times I have put different mushrooms on the same tray in my dehydrator. I thought, I'll be able to tell these apart when they're dry. I can't. You won't be able to either. They all look the same after they're dry. I mean, you might get a couple that are different, but they're very easy to confuse. So just label them, save yourself the headache. So now we are going to make an iNaturalist observation together. You can use a picture of a mushroom that you've taken previously. If you want to snap a quick photo of your dog or your cat, if there is an insect or a plant next to you, your girlfriend with her permission, anything living counts. You can make an iNaturalist observation of anything that is alive. Now, all of these following slides. You're going to see iNaturalist Android app on the left and the iNaturalist iPhone app on the right, because there are differences between platforms. And I'm going to walk you through this. It's not hard. We're going to do it together. So when you first open your iNaturalist app, this is the screen that you're going to see. These are two people that have been making observations for a long time. You're not going to have nearly as many. If this is new to you, you'll have none, but that's okay. To make a new observation on Android, you're going to click the green plus sign on the bottom right. On iPhone, you're going to click the camera icon in the middle there on the bottom. iNaturalist does allow you to take photos directly in the iNaturalist app. You can see there it says take photo. The photo quality is significantly lower. I do not recommend using it that way unless you're in a big hurry and you got something, a insect or something that's going to be gone in a second. It's usually just as easy to take a photo on your phone, and it just takes way better photos. Next, you're going to select the album that your photos are stored in. For most everybody, it should be your camera unless you're moving them somewhere specific. And you can select multiple pictures at once by just holding down, or I think you can collect them. I think they changed it recently. You can collect, all your different views, save yourself some time. On Android, when you get to this screen here, you're going to see all your photos lined up at the top. Y'all, I know I said to put questions in the chat, but as we're walking through this, if you're following along, if something doesn't look right, if you're having an issue, speak up. Let me help you. We're going to do this together. I want you to feel confident making iNaturalist observations after this point. So if something doesn't make sense, speak up, interrupt me, please. So you've selected all your pictures, and you hit done in the upper right on Android or add on the upper right on iPhone, and you're going to see this screen here. On Android, you can rearrange your photos by clicking and dragging these little photos. Do you guys see? You guys can't see my my cursor, can you? On my screen?
No, I don't believe so.
I think there's a setting that I can use like a
Which layer?
I feel like there's a yes, there is. Spotlight? Is it Spotlight?
Oh,
Can you see this?
Alicia, before
Oops.
you get back into it, somebody was asking
Uh-huh.
about the observation number. You mentioned that you were going to do that, but just reminding that
Yes,
we're asking
we
that.
will talk about where you find that. Do you guys see the spotlight now? Is that a thing?
I do. Yep.
You do see the spotlight. Perfect. Okay. So you can click these and drag these little photos to put them in order. You want one that is a good representation of the mushroom as your first picture, just so that when you have your whole library of photos, you see one that makes sense, and it's not just like the 3 mile away photo showing the habitat. Let's see. That's not an option on iPhone, unfortunately. So then you want to click on what did you see? And iNaturalist is going to automatically suggest IDs. iNaturalist AI is not any better at IDing mushrooms than any other mushroom identification app. They are all pretty bad. You can see that all of these, I believe this is a Lucaria, and you can see these are all terrible IDs. They're all wrong. Most of them aren't even close. So you're going to click species search on Android. On iPhone, you're going to click the look up species by name. And you're going to type in what you think it is. If you have no idea, just ID it as fungi, because people like me go on iNaturalist, we type in, show me all the fungi observations, and it will, and then I go through and I ID them. But if you just leave it as life or don't put anything, I will never see it. Here's a hot tip. If you type in a genus name with a space after it, it's going to give you a list of species in the genus, but it's not going to give you just a genus level ID. If you get rid of the space at the end, genus Laccaria will be an option. And that's the case on both Android and iPhone. So on Android, when you choose an ID, it will automatically pull up the information about it. It pulls from the Wikipedia page, which is sometimes more helpful than others, but usually has some information about the species or the genus. That way you can read a little bit about it and see if it makes sense to you, that it matches your observation. On iPhone, you have to choose the little info I button here to learn about it. But either way, once you select the ID, it will take you back to the observation. And then you should type in any notes that are going to be difficult to tell from a photo or, after the fact. So what is it growing on? What kinds of trees are nearby? Any other details? Odor, taste of the latex, whether there's latex present, color change of the latex, what the texture was, anything that you think might be worth noting, you can type in there. If your location permissions are turned on for both your iNaturalist app and your camera, your location should automatically fill in. You should definitely click it and double check that it is correct. Sometimes because of cell phone towers where I live in rural Alabama, it actually places me several miles away from where I actually am. It like 2-hour drive from where I am. So make sure that the location looks correct. If you've not had your location, it might be blank and you can click it and manually select a location, but it's just way easier to have it on and way more accurate. If we do end up having one of your collections, we're going to want that latitude and longitude so that we can know about conservation possibilities in the area or finding the mushroom again. So having those location permissions on are really important. From this screen, you can click on projects if you would like to add your observation to a project that you have already joined. If you've not joined a project, you can't add it at this point. Some projects pull observations automatically, which are called collection and umbrella projects. They'll be listed at the very bottom of your list of projects you've joined, and our FUNDIS project is one of these umbrella projects. If your mushroom gets ID'd as one of our target fungi in one of our target states, it will automatically be added to our project. When you have input all of your information and you've chosen any projects that you want to add it to, then you're going to click the check mark on Android. Oh, I'm sorry, the check mark here. This is the screen it shows you if you click on projects. It gives you all the projects you've joined and you just click the little checkbox. But once it's done, click the little checkbox here. On iPhone, you're going to click the share button at the bottom. And it'll take you back to your list of observations and show that it is uploading. Who is uploading an iNaturalist observation? Is anybody working on one? Is anybody actually doing it? Okay. So from your main screen, if there is an iNaturalist project that you want to join, and I do believe that the Blue Ridge Mycological Association, Society has one that they use, correct? You have a project that you do?
We don't. We have one that the Corey Gardens uses. We meet in a place called the Corey Gardens at Schuyler. So if anybody is doing this and you go into the projects, type in the Corey Gardens at Schuyler and you'll see that project. So anything taken at that location automatically will be lumped into it.
So from your main screen on Android, you're going to choose the 3 lines in the top upper left corner of your screen. And from the menu that appears, you click projects. And on iPhone, you're going to choose the projects button in the bottom right. and it will show you this screen here. And on Android, you choose the little magnifying glass. Well, I guess on both of them, it's the little magnifying glass in the upper right. And you can see I typed in Quarry Gardens for your project, and it shows Quarry Gardens
That's it,
Biodiversity
yeah.
right here.
My son actually just
And
corrected me on the name.
and you would just select it. Once you select it, I believe it will take you to the project, and you hit this little join button. Once you hit join, that join will switch to leave. You can see on the right, it's partially obscured. It says leave, and when it says leave, that's how you know you've joined it, and you can just hit the back button. So finding the iNaturalist number. This is a unique ID number that is given to every observation. On Android, you're going to choose the observation that you want to find the iNaturalist number for. It has to be fully uploaded. If it's still downloading, if the observation is still uploading to iNaturalist, you won't be able to click it yet. When it's done, click on it. It's going to take you to the observation, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and it says metadata here at the bottom, has ID, and this number here is your iNaturalist number. Easy peasy. iPhone makes it super annoying and difficult. On iPhone, you're going to go to open your observation that you want the iNaturalist number for. You have to click the share button, which is this little square with an up arrow in the upper right-hand corner of your observation photo. And you're going to copy by hitting this little button here with the two papers. And then you have to open some other app, your notes app, Messenger, whatever, and just paste it in. It's going to be the URL for your observation, and the last number, the end number after the last backslash on your URL is your iNaturalist number. You will need this URL, or this, I'm sorry, you will need this iNaturalist number if you are sending me a collection for the Southeast Rare Fungi Challenge, if you are mailing a specimen in for DNA sequencing, if you have a researcher that is interested in receiving a mushroom you found, giving them this iNaturalist number to correspond that dried sample with all the information, all the photos you took. This number is vitally important. I occasionally have people who send me dried fungi, and if they do not include an iNaturalist or mushroom observer number, which we're not talking about, I have no idea. I receive hundreds of fungi in the mail every month. I ID and talk to hundreds of people every day online about fungi. I ask for lots of specimens. I will not remember your name. I will not remember that I asked you to send me this mushroom. I will not recognize the dried mushroom likely from the photos that I saw of it online. If it doesn't have this iNaturalist number attached, unfortunately, a lot of times it just winds up in the trash because I don't actually know what it is or why I asked for it. So definitely spend the time, find your number, write it on a little piece of paper and stick it in, and make sure your handwriting is legible. If you've been told your whole life that nobody can read your handwriting and you ought to be a doctor, have your girlfriend or your son or your cousin write it down for you or type it up and print it, because an illegible iNaturalist number is just as bad as a missing iNaturalist number. So for this whole project, this whole process, you can find detailed instructions on the iNaturalist, or I'm sorry, on the FUNDIS website, which is the QR code here. If you want more information, if you think you found something that might be of interest to us, you can reach us at southeastrfc@gmail.com. All collections of the target fungi will be sequenced and accessioned at the University of West Alabama Herbarium. So if you find something and want to know what we're doing with it, we're doing DNA sequencing, and then it will be accessioned at the university with your name as the collector for perpetuity. 200 years from now, your great-great-grandchildren can go and see your name listed as collector for that mushroom in the herbarium. And always be aware of the local laws regarding required permits for the land where you are collecting. So let's see what questions we have. I see we got lots in the chat here.
I don't think I.
Some of these we have been answering as you've been going.
Good. Excellent.
If somebody's Oh, go ahead.
So the flyer, if you go to the FUNDIS website, I'm just going to show you guys this real quick. If you run 4As, and you're somewhere in the target area, you can go to the FUNDIS website. Seeing if I have, which is just fundis.org. And at the top here, they have challenges, and you can click Southeast, and there is a download for our Southeast poster right here, link to download. I have several large ones printed and laminated that I take with me on 4As. The Fundis Biodiversity Project on iNaturalist says it's the West Coast Challenge. Yeah, there's atoms all over that. Fantastic. Mush dry. I've had better luck using, I think you mean removing debris that stuck to them after drying. Yes. If you're trying to remove debris. Now, I feel like if there's pine needles that have the mushroom has kind of grown around, those are easier to pull out when the mushroom is fresh. But a lot of times if there's just a ton of debris stuck to it, a lot of times it's easier to brush off after they're dry without losing those features or brushing off features of the mushroom, unless it's something that's really sticky. The really sticky mushrooms that have stuff stuck to them, it's easier to pull off leaves and stuff while they're still wet. Just something you sometimes try one, sometimes try the other. Bill, you feel good about finding the iNaturalist number on your iPhone app now? Awesome.
No, I had a question about the iPhone too. I got to the copy, but then what next? That's what
You have to, so after you hit copy, it's copy the URL, and then you have to go somewhere else and paste it. You can paste it into your browser, you can paste it into a note or a Facebook message. You just need to paste out the URL so you can see it, and the number will be there on the end.
Yeah, I think I have it now.
We have Casey's. Sorry, go ahead.
One other way that I've done it, if I'm trying to do a whole bunch of them real quick, I found this to also be really useful, is instead of clicking copy, say show
Oh, it's right
browser,
there.
and then when you click on the one in the browser, like you're gonna highlight it, you can just drag the thing over and only highlight the end. I've done a whole bunch of them real quick that way. It's a bit annoying, as you know, you've mentioned earlier, but that is another way.
Yeah, I don't see why, when they've made it so easy for Android, where it just displays it on your observation, I don't see why they can't do that for iPhone. It's stupid. Android user Casey says, I like to take one photo using the iNat app so it logs the location automatically and use my camera for the rest. Yeah, if you're a photographer and take really awesome photos with your regular camera, that is a great way to do it. I barely have one of my goals this year is to start taking really great mushroom photos and not just shows the basic scientific necessary features photos, because I just don't have the patience for it. But some people do fantastic photography of their mushrooms, and all the more power to you guys, because I don't have the patience for it. A local project for sharing fungi on iNaturalist. Okay, some people doing some troubleshooting and figuring it out. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have another question. We can download the flyer, but could we possibly have a download for some of the the slides that you did? Because I would love to just bring a folder of that on some of our forays so that we can
I
those out.
will be more than happy to go ahead. I'll just email you my presentation. And actually
Awesome.
I may just host it. I may put up all the slides on the Alabama Mushroom Society website. Or maybe I can get Gabriella to put it up on the FUNDIS website, so that all the slides with the notes are there and available to be printed. I'll talk to Gabriella about putting it up on the FUNDIS website, that they can just be downloaded one click right from this page. But I'd be happy to email it to you, and anyone else who just wants the slides, more than happy to make them available to you. Oh, yes. We have a park ranger with USACE. Where is that at? Where is USACE?
Hey, I'm actually Army Corps of Engineers. That's what USACE
Okay.
stands for. And I am at Philpott Lake, which is in the Blue Ridge of Virginia.
Awesome. Awesome. That is so cool, and super happy to have you here. And I'd love for you to, I don't have any great tips for getting visitors involved. Holding forays and just being willing to take people out. And I mean, fungi events are a big deal and people tend to really like them. So just leading people out in areas to specifically learn how to look for and document mushrooms is always a great option. Adam, any of you guys around there have any other ideas?
That area is just a bit southeast of where the New River Valley Club meets, and it's been on our radar since your name says Seamus, but what's the name? Is it Lisa?
Yeah, my name is Lisa.
Lisa,
My
okay.
last name is actually Bradle. Sorry about the screaming toddler, but yeah, I've been looking for somebody to help me with a foray for quite a bit, but everybody's just a little bit too far.
Yeah.
I'm not, I've been doing this for a while, but I'm not, I'd like someone else. I'd like a crew of us to go out because I can't answer all the questions.
None of us can answer all the questions, if we're
right.
being honest. Lisa, that is sometimes the answer is just, I don't know, but
Exactly.
we'll find out. Anyone who
Right.
says they can answer all the questions is
They're
lying.
lying.
So, don't feel bad about that. Sometimes you are the person.
Right. Right. Yeah, I have a lot of visitors that bring me random mushrooms and they're like, "Hey, what's this?" And it happens all the time. We have
So tell them, be like, hey, there's this great Blue Ridge Mushroom Society page, and let's take some pictures and post it there. And I bet you there will be some experts that would love to idea it. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you don't know what it is, you can certainly point them in the right direction and, send some, post some pictures on the Facebook page that we can help ID.
Definitely. I've kind of been steering people in that direction. Like all winter, most of our parks are closed. But in the summer, like you can't walk anywhere without stepping on mushrooms. So we have a lot in our area. And I think that, I don't know, I'm really, really, really excited about this. I think people will love it. People love scavenger hunts, especially kids. They're all about it. So.
Oh yeah. And tell you what, you guys, the Alabama Mushroom Society, we do a scavenger hunt every year. And this year we've changed things up and we have 3 different tiers. And for tier 1, it's very easy and very basic, and you have to be an AMS 1 member to win. Tier 2 is more moderate, and again, you have to be an AMS member to win. Tier 3 is the Rare Fungi Challenge. You do not have to be an AMS member to win. It's basically whoever documents the most species on the list. We give away like $200 worth of prizes across the different tiers. So if you tell people, be like, not only do you get this dopamine rush and have the fun of finding these awesome fungi, you can win some pretty awesome stuff. Like we give away all kinds of different mushroom ID books and mushroom swag, and I got mushroom bowls and mushroom welcome mats and mushroom earrings. And I mean, we have so much stuff we're going to be giving away, and we kind of let the winners choose. So yeah, it's a scavenger hunt and there's prizes. So let people know.
That is amazing. I'll probably hit you up later about more information on that.
Absolutely.
Like,
Please do.
want.
Actually, I'll drop the link in the chat right now, and then you can
Perfect.
have it if you need it.
And Lisa, I would like to get in touch with you also about coordinating something with either our club or several of the local clubs, because we've noticed your posts and have not gotten in touch with you yet. So this is a good motivation.
Yes, absolutely. As you can tell, I have a screaming 3-year-old, so sometimes this kind of stuff is hard, but yes, anytime.
My
Right.
2.5-year-old is screaming in her room because she doesn't want to go to bed. So I feel you.
Yeah, my kid is obsessed with mushrooms, so she's sitting on my lap going, mushrooms. So.
Aw. I'm realizing that the area on our website that I have the scavenger hunt, because the first 2 tiers require being a member, it's behind the membership paywall. So I'm going to have to put the rest of it, I'm going to have to move it. And then I would be happy to send you a link. But unless you're an AMS member, which, I mean, although we appreciate the support, it doesn't make sense for
Totally understandable. I was actually in Gulf Shores in January, walking around and looking at winter mushrooms there. So I don't know if I ever go back again, maybe I will.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions, comments? Now's your chance to ask all your burning fungi questions. We got a whole slew of some pretty high knowledgeable people in the presentation. So if there's something you want to know, your burning mycological questions can be answered. Why does amatoxin appear across genera? I don't think we know the answer to that. Erlon Bailey is here. Do you have any theories for why amatoxins appear across genera? And a short answer. Anyone can start an iNaturalist project. Yes. There's also search features. So there's sometimes making an iNaturalist project makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense just to do a search. So like if I wanted to know all of the fungi, I'm going to show you. Am I still sharing my screen? If I want to show you all of the fungal species in, let's say, let's say, this is my county where I actually live, or where I currently live. You know, I can just, there's pretty good search features. So I wouldn't have to make a project that was just this. Sometimes the search features can pull up exactly what you want. A project is more for specific forays or specific areas that are not already boundaries by a county or a park or in their system. Yeah, and I think is it Pat that's running the Blue Ridge Mycological Society page. There is a little bit of work involved. If there is a project that you are interested in starting on iNaturalist and you need some help setting it up, let me know and I'd be happy to do that. Would looking for fungi in recently burnt woods be more fruitful compared to not recently burnt woods? That is going to depend on the fungi. There are some fungi that are absolutely post-fire fruiters. Sometimes there are some fungi that we know that encourages fruiting. I don't think that you're not going to find, the pawpaw bracket growing in an area that was just burnt if it's, or something that only grows on, small dead wood. So yes, sometimes, and documenting fungi that are popping up in burn areas is really good data anyways, because we don't have a whole lot of data on the East Coast of what fungi pop up in post-burn areas. But I don't know, there's not an easy answer for, is it going to be more fruitful? It depends on what's fruiting. No, there's no project name for well, there's a project. You can pull it up. It's the Southeast Rare Fungi Challenge, but you do not have to join the project. Our project automatically pulls anything in any of the target species that fruit in our target area. So you do not have to go and join it. But if you want to see what has been found, let's see. You can pull up and you can join and see what all is in it. I manage a lot of projects, so sometimes it takes me a minute to find the one I'm looking for. I also have lots of stuff going on my screen right now. Southeast Rare Fungi. So you can see we have 90 observations that represent 15 species by 36 different people. Oh, I'm sorry, by 44 different people, 36 identifiers. Noah dropped a nice link for you there. Erlon says horizontal gene transfer of certain gene families. That's well beyond my area of expertise. Those guys can tell you, I cannot. All right, anything else?
Thank you so much, Alisha.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
And thank you everybody for coming. This was our second official Zoom presentation, and this one went a lot smoother than the last one that had a couple glitches. So